Hey, comic lovers, welcome back to the channel. EMoney and the old man back with you again for another comic review week. This week for the week of February 10th, and today we have 18 comics to review. So, before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. I mean, if you have comic recommendations that we haven't tried out yet, let us know.
Like to hear from that.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, just another reminder, most of y'all heard this before, but those of you who are new to the channel, the way we score the reviews is the old man goes off, reads all the comic books, EMoney reads them, then once I've put my notes down of what I scored the comic, we find out what EMoney scored. And a lot of times we scored exactly the same, and but trust me, that's just because that's the way we think they should be scored.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we compared notes or anything, because we did not. Now, we use a 5-shield system. 5 would be the ultimate either story or artwork. Average is 3. You'll see a lot of 3s in these recommendations. Mm-hmm. But I grade story, I grade art, EMoney grades story, he grades art, and then we merge them together and see what this comic
Final
or story averaged. And if there was multiple stories, we average that together to give the comic book a final average.
Mm-hmm.
So, you ready?
All right, let's get going.
Well, we'll switch it up a little bit. We've been doing the Future State books first. Tired of that, so this week we're going to do the Independents first.
All right.
And we're going to start with a Dark Horse comic. I don't know that we've ever done a Dark Horse comics on this show. But we have Black Hammer Visions, number 1. It's a $3.99 cover price.
All right, so this one is actually by Patton Oswalt. So interesting. All right, so this follows a couple of young girls who just graduated high school, and they're sitting around in a diner, and they are recalling this weird girl that they knew while they were in school. And the story reads like a Twilight Zone episode, I think, and I think that's what they're going for, because it's going to be a different story every month. Every
issue will be a different story.
Mm-hmm. And they definitely rip off a bit of Shazam, but yeah. But I thought it was a fairly interesting story. Artwork leaves a little something to be desired. So for story, I gave a 3. For artwork, I gave it a 2.
All right, well, I thought the artwork was better than EMoney did. I gave it a 3. Story-wise, I really love Twilight Zone stories. And so this is right up my alley. I enjoyed it, so I gave it 4 stars. Now, overall, averaging everything together, this particular comic gets 3 shields. Next up, this is one of 2 comics that I picked up because they were recommended by somebody else's YouTube channel. It's called Casual Fling. It is by AWA. It's one of 4 miniseries, and it has a $3.99 cover price, and it is a mature comic.
All right, so Casual Fling here. It follows a mother who is trying to balance her home life and her career. You know, to get a husband, 2 kids, and the story kind of, you know, it's a bit of, you know, these sort of story cliches all wrapped into one. And, you know, it's not the kind of story that I would usually read about for a comic book. So, I don't know, I couldn't get into the story. I mean, it was kind of predictable as these stories go. So I ended up giving it a 2 for story. Artwork, decent enough. I gave it a 3.
Well, I agreed 100% on the artwork. I gave it a 3, and I agreed 100% on the story. Maybe a little bit different reasons. I just thought it was kind of slow. It borrowed too much from Glenn Close's Fatal Attraction. Except flip-flop the roles. It might get a lot better in future stories, because let's face it, this was just a setup. I gave it 2 shields for the writing, so this comic averaged out to 2.5 shields. Next, we have Doctor Who comic number 4. This is from Titan Comics, and it has a $3.99 cover price. Take it away, EMoney.
All right, so this is, I think, the 4th part in a story. and it follows the 13th Doctor and the 10th Doctor. That's Jodie Whittaker and David Tennant, if you keep up, who are struggling to set things right in the timeline. You know, things have gone wrong, and they have to find Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla in order to set things right, and these alien spider creatures. And I thought it was fun. You know, it has a good amount of action. I mean, you know, if you know your history and you know the relationship between Tesla and Edison, you know, that could make for some funny banter, and we don't really get much of that here. So I thought the story, decent enough, was 3. Artwork was fine. I also gave it 3 too.
Well, we tied again. I gave it 3 and 3 also. I could have used more of the Edison and Tesla relationship. You know, that type of character development I would have just really had a good time with. But it's good enough. So that comic gets 3 shields overall. Next, the second of the 2 comics that I picked up because they were recommended by a YouTube video. And this is an Image comic. It's called Ha Ha. It's number 1, and this is a second printing.
Okay. This follows a down on his luck clown who gets fired from his job and doesn't know how he's going to support his family, and he gets involved in crime. So stop me if you've heard this one. So I kind of struggled with the story a little bit here. I mean, I thought it was kind of predictable. Artwork was, just kind of out there. And I don't know. I mean, it borrows cliches from the Joker and from Falling Down with Michael Douglas. So I ended up giving it a 2 for the story. And then artwork, I thought I gave it a very generous 3.
All right, well, I can't say much for the story either. I gave it a 2. Artwork, I thought it was fine, except there were parts where I guess he's going insane. And I guess it was supposed to look the way it did, but I didn't really care for that. I thought I would have liked to have seen something else for those panels. So I gave it a 3 for the art. Overall, that book gets 2.5 shields. Next, we've got EMoney's Mighty Morphin, number 4, from Boom Studios. It says a $3.99 cover price. I say EMoney because I was never a big fan of the Power Rangers.
All right, so this continues the story we've been following for 2 issues now, I think. The first few pages follow as a flashback, part of Zordon's origin story. And, you know, to the creators of this comic book, I mean, if for whatever reason you ever watch this video, I don't care. I'm sorry. I cannot care about Zordon's origin story. I'm sorry. But the rest of the story follows the Rangers, and the Zed has sent these super putties or dark putties, I forget what word he used, down to Earth, and the Power Rangers are struggling against him. And they're working with the new Green Ranger. They don't know who he is. Tommy is the White Ranger at this point, so we don't know who this mysterious Green Ranger is. But they work with him. Also, a few pages we follow Bulk and Skull, and like I said in the last time we did this story, that this is not the Bulk and Skull I remember. They are much more likable characters than they were before, and. You know, I know my Power Rangers up to a certain point pretty well. You know, right up until they became Power Rangers Zeo. I guess I kind of lost interest. I kind of outgrew it, and I wasn't watching after that. So I know it pretty well, and then there's supposed to be this big reveal at the end on the last panel, but I don't know who this is. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Well, Green Ranger, White Ranger, I don't care who's who. It doesn't matter to me. They did make me care about Bulk and Skull, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of the battle scenes are not too horrible. So I ended up giving it a 3 and a 3. So we tied again.
Which was also my score.
All right, so I gave it, when it was all average out, it gets 3 shields. Next, we have another Image comic. This is Radiant Black number 1 with a $3.99 cover price.
All right, so On this one, it is about a guy who, moved out to Los Angeles, tried to make it big. Things didn't work out, and he has to move back to his hometown, something I can empathize with. But down on his luck guy, and I just realized how many of these stories begin with a guy down on his luck. But that's what happens here. So him and his buddy go out drinking, and they find a mysterious object, and the story kind of takes off from there. Now, the story borrows a lot from the Green Lantern origin story, maybe a little bit from the new 2017 Power Rangers movie, which in turn borrowed from Chronicle movie. So a lot of that, if you add all that together. One scene was really funny when they have a confrontation with the police officers, and the friend says, you let us go, and we'll let you go. And one of the officers disagrees, and the other's like, okay, and he's like, what did they do? I mean, how are we even going to write this up? But the story was all right, despite borrowing from a lot of other stories. So I gave it a 3. Artwork, solid enough. I also gave it 3 too.
And we tied again. I gave it 3 and 3. I thought that the artwork was solid, nothing special. I thought that the storyline, which to me borrowed from the origin of the modern Blue Beetle, maybe.
Okay.
And the scene with the cops was, I thought it brought in some realism that would probably happen if something like this really did happen.
Yeah.
So that one obviously ends up with 3 shields. And our last independent book is by Humanoids, and it's Space Bastards #2 with a $4.99 cover price.
All right, so Space Bastards #2, which, by the way, the first issue of this also started with a guy down on his luck. But anyways, this one is a bit of a prequel. It's an origin story of how the parcel delivery organization got started.
And the creator of the organization was down on his luck.
Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, a lot of failed business ventures. So follows how he got the business up and running, and if you didn't read the first issue, basically it's a delivery service where it's kind of a free for all. You take a parcel, and whoever is employed by the company and can get it there. It doesn't matter who gets it there, as long as somebody gets it there. And if you grab it from the other guy, you can get money for the parcel as long as you get it delivered.
Any way you want to get it from
any way
him,
you can,
including shooting him in the head.
Mm-hmm. So, story shows how the whole thing got started, and it's solid storytelling. I gave it a 4. Artwork also pretty great. I gave it another 4.
And we tied yet again because I thoroughly enjoyed this comic. I can't wait for the next issue. If you're not reading it, I think Comic Book World still has some #1s, so you might want to stop in there and
if you're in the
pick
Louisville area.
So that one, 4 shields. All right, let's gather this stuff up and move on to the future state.
All right, so done with the independents, on to DC.
All right, so first up, we have Future State Dark Detective #3, and this has 2 stories. We did go with the cardboard $6.99 cover price version. If you want us to lead off with the Batman story.
All right, so Batman's story, he's fighting against the magistrate authority once again. And then he meets another Batman, and this whole confrontation that's teased on the cover here was entirely disappointing.
It reminded me of what was it, Pirates of the Caribbean #3, where
Yep.
you had 2 fleets of ships getting ready to square off. And
A lot of drum roll for nothing. So that was that story. Artwork was pretty good enough. I gave a 3 for story and 3 for artwork. The next one is a Huntress / Grifter story.
my turn.
Oh, okay.
So on that story, artwork we agreed, gave it a 3 also. As far as the storyline, I enjoyed seeing Batman having to get the job done without all of his support, without his weapons and tools and Alfred and everything else. He's just out there by himself. I thought that was interesting, so I gave it 4 stars. That story averaged out to 3.5 shields.
Okay. So next is a Hunter Grifter story.
Huntress.
What did I say?
You said Hunter.
Okay, sorry. Huntress Grifter story, where they are trying to get their way out of the magistrate-controlled Gotham. And it's not lacking for action, but I guess I just can't bring myself to care about Grifter versus most of the other Gotham characters. So it had its moments. So for story, I gave it 3. Artwork, I didn't think it was quite as good as the first story, but not enough that I took away a point. So that also got a slightly weaker 3.
And we tied again, because I also don't care about Grifter so much, but this story kind of got me pulling for him. So maybe I didn't care, maybe I did, but it was worth reading, so I gave it 3 and 3. And the story averaged out to 3 shields, so the comic book itself averaged out to 3 shields also.
All right.
All right, next up, Future State Green Lantern #2 with the $5.99 cover price. This one had 3 stories.
All right, first is John Stewart and a team of other Green Lanterns who have lost their power rings. They don't have the rings anymore, but they are still fighting in this war with these warlike aliens who are trying to oppress and annihilate these other aliens, which the Green Lanterns are trying to fight for. And there's a lot of cool stuff here. One where John Stewart kind of makes it clear that they always the enemies always focus on the rings, and they think that's what they're all about, and that's not what the Green Lanterns are about. They're just tools. And
Tools.
Yeah. And then another part where he ends a confrontation with who he brings into the fight to end it, I thought was really interesting. So artwork, I gave a 4 for this story. I'm sorry, writing I gave a 4 to. Artwork, good enough, I gave a 3.
We flip-flopped. I thought the story was okay. Never really cared for the Green Lanterns since they came up with yellow lanterns, red lanterns, black lanterns. That kind of is where I burnt out on the whole Green Lantern thing. But story was good enough. I gave it 3. Artwork I thought was excellent. I gave it 4 stars. And the next story.
All right, next follows a girl who, Kelly Quintella, who has sort of found Green Lantern power without actually being chosen by a ring. She says she found a gauntlet with Green Lantern power in a trash can. And I don't know.
Sure, she did.
I don't know much about this character, but I know I don't care too much about her based on this story. So I gave a 2 for the story. Artwork, decent enough. I gave a 3.
Agreed on the artwork. Gave it a 3. Agreed on the story. I gave it a 2, but my reason was because the
Planet,
the living planet,
Mogo,
yeah, whatever it is, it's a Green Lantern who's a whole planet. Can't stand that. Absolutely hate that. But such it is. That story ended up with 2.5 shields. Third story was called Recon.
Yeah, this one was a pretty short story where Hal Jordan is trying to get back to Oa, and let me just say that is a nice looking Hal Jordan right there. I mean, Neil Adams would be proud. So artwork's pretty good. Story was fairly simple. So I ended up giving a 3 for story and a 4 for artwork.
I guess by the third story I was burnt down on Green Lanterns at this point. So I only gave the story a 2. I just had a hard time caring. And 3 for the artwork, which was pretty good. So that one ended up with 3 shields on an average. And the book also when you took all three stories, averaged them together, you got 3 shields.
All right.
Next is Future State Justice League number 2. We picked up the variant cardboard stock cover and has a $6.99 price on it.
All right. So in this story, the Justice League is trapped on a desolate planet, I think, and
They've been banished
yeah,
there.
and a supervillain group is masquerading as them back on Earth. So, a couple things I enjoyed about this story is one, they're not sure if members of the Justice League are imposters. So, the little things they know about each other that help them know who's who, like Superman knows that Batman hums to himself when he's fighting, like he's making his own theme music, which I thought was pretty funny. And also, I always enjoy a good battle royal slobber knocker in a story. So story for this one, I gave a 4. Artwork, pretty great. I also gave a 4 too.
All right. I enjoyed the storyline just as much as EMoney did. It reminded me in parts of a little bit of John Carpenter's The Thing, where they're trying to figure out, are you the real guy or not? Also from a Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode we just watched.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, 4 shields for the story. Wasn't as impressed with the artwork. It was a strong 3, but still a 3. So that book ended up averaging out to...
That story ended up
to 4 shields. Then we have the Justice League Dark backup story.
All right, so Justice League Dark, it follows the demon Etrigan and Dr. Fate, John Constantine, and Zatanna. And they are struggling against the wizard Merlin and his Black Knight. And I thought it was pretty great. You see the inner struggle of Etrigan, and also what Dr. Fate, what his role is to play in all this. So I enjoyed it. So I gave a 4 for the story. Artwork, decent enough. I gave a 3.
All right. We disagreed on this one a little bit. I've never liked Etrigan. So if he's the main character in the story, I'm probably not going to enjoy it that much, and I didn't. So I gave the story 2. Artwork was fine. 3 for the art. That story ended up with 3 shields, and overall, that story, that book, averaged out to 3.5 shields. All right, next up, EMoney's favorite, Future State, Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, number 2, $3.99 cover price.
All right, so I read the first issue of this last month, and I pretty much hated it, both for writing and artwork.
That was your favorite.
No. So, and you did not think that. So I flipped through it, and I saw it was the same artwork, same story, same writing. So I am going to abstain from this one because I did not read it.
And I wish I hadn't, because I didn't enjoy it. Didn't like the first one, didn't like this one. Artwork, blah, didn't like it. So 2 and 2, which means this book, since we don't have to use scores he didn't give, gets 2 shields. Moving on.
Yeah.
Future State, Robin Eternal, number 2, with a $3.99 cover price.
All right, so this one follows Tim Drake Robin, who has infiltrated a magistrate headquarters along with Spoiler and some other person. I don't
know who it is either.
Yeah, not familiar with her. She kind of dresses like Black Canary, but she's not Black Canary. So he has just risen from a Lazarus resin, so he's feeling juiced. He's pumped. And in this story, they really shine a light on Tim Drake's intelligence. I mean, he's without a doubt the most intelligent of any of the Robins, and his skill, maturity, intelligence really shines through in this story. So I say, hats off to the writers for that. And I gave a 3 for story. Artwork, pretty decent. I also gave a 3 too.
Yep. I enjoyed this one as well as I did the first issue of Robin Eternal. So storyline, 3. I like the artwork better than EMoney did. I gave it 4, and it averaged out to 3 shields overall. Next, we have DC's Future State Superman Wonder Woman #2, and we went with the cardboard stock variant and a $4.99 cover price.
All right, so this one picks up where the last one left off. Superman and Wonder Woman are facing off against some Greek myths, and not something I usually care for with a Superman story. The thing I really liked about this was Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship. Superman is feeling stretched a bit thin in his daily duties, and Wonder Woman tries to help him out, pick up the slack for that.
A bit about his daily responsibility that he has to do every single day.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm thinking that he couldn't do that, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, 3 for story-wise, it was okay. I guess it's a week 3. Artwork, close-up shots of people's faces, I thought was, threw me off a little bit, but not enough to give a lesser score to. So I'm going to say a week 3 for artwork.
Now, number-wise, we pretty much agreed. I don't think my 3 for writing is as strong as yours was, because I thought there was a lot of fluff in this one.
All right.
But the artwork I thought was solid. So not a strong 3, just a 3. And obviously, this book averaged out with 3 shields. And the last Future State is Future State Teen Titans #2 with the $4.99 variant cardboard stock cover. Now this one I switched out. I had reserved the regular cover, but I started thinking that the Red X, this guy, might become somebody important. This might be considered a key issue at some point. Who knows, but yeah, that's what I picked up.
All right, so this is at the end of the last issue. We saw a reveal, and I thought things were going to pick up, but they really didn't do anything with it after that. And the story is not lacking for action. There is a struggle going on, but I don't know. It's like they're fighting some incarnation of the Four Horsemen, and I don't know. I just couldn't bring myself to care that much. So storyline wise, I gave a 2. Artwork was pretty great though. I ended up enjoying reading the pages despite the bad story. So I gave a 4 for artwork.
Well, we disagreed again. I think we disagreed. Nah, we tied more than anything. But at any rate, I enjoyed the story. I would have given the story an even higher score than my 3. I just don't know the characters. They've introduced us to so many new Titans and junior Titans and Titan wannabes. I don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to really get into the story. Artwork, I didn't feel strongly about it as you did. I gave it 3. This comic averaged out to 3 stars.
Shields.
So, shields.
3 shields.
I keep saying stars, it's shields. So that's it for Future State this week.
All right.
Like I said, I think there's only 2 more weeks of Future State books.
All right, so next up is the Marvel titles.
Alrighty. So we have more Marvel books than we normally do. We haven't been getting very many. This week we picked up 4 of them. We'll start off with the Daredevil #27, $3.99 cover price. And this is a King in Black tie-in.
All right, so this picks up where we left off with Matt Murdock in jail, and he's been taken over by a symbiote, and Elektra, who is Daredevil, out there on the street during the Null King in Black invasion. So I enjoyed pretty much all parts of this story. Matt's inner struggle with Null trying to dominate his mind, I thought was pretty great, and Elektra trying to struggle against the street fighting, and her learning to do the right thing as Daredevil. Also, the pages with Wilson Fisk I also enjoyed. So no low points for this story, I thought. So I gave it a 4. Artwork, decent enough. I gave a 3.
Well, that was close. My problem is I do not like the King in Black storyline. Don't care for it. Be glad when it's over. But I love me some Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave this comic 3 for the story, 3 for the artwork. So that book averaged out to 3.5 shields. Next, soon to be in the MCU, the Eternals, number 2, and it has a $3.99 cover price.
All right, so picks up where the last one left off, and what's his name? Orion?
No, it starts with an I.
Well, anyways,
Carius, something like that.
This character is fighting with Thanos, and the fight doesn't last very long, and the rest of the story is pretty much about them discussing what the Eternals are going to do about Thanos. And for the most part, I just couldn't bring myself to care. Like, I don't know these characters, you aren't doing anything interesting, you're pretty boring, so I just do not care. So, the story, I gave a 2-2, and artwork was alright, I gave a 3.
No, I agree on the artwork. It was a 3. I, however, like the storyline. I love Sprite. She's just my favorite. I like the little insert story, which was like a little bit of history. I even like the fact that they put a flow chart of the Eternals, so you kind of figure out what's been going on. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3, and so this comic ends up getting 3 shields. Next up, back to King in Black. This is a one-shot. King in Black, Black Panther, number 1. We picked up a variant cover, and it's a $4.99 cover price.
All right, so this issue follows T'Challa and Wakanda, who, just like the rest of the world, are being invaded by Null's forces. And it shows the struggle that Wakanda has defending their country. And if you watch the movie, I don't read a lot of Black Panther comics, but this one has a lot of your favorite characters from the movie in it. And it really demonstrates Wakanda's power, and that pretty much every warrior in Wakanda is a force to be reckoned with. It's not just Black Panther is their champion, and everybody else are a bunch of red shirts. Give you an example. I remember a cartoon of Avengers where misunderstandings and
of course,
and Captain America is fighting forces from Wakanda. By the time the fight was over, 2 members of Wakanda's royal guards fought Captain America to a standstill. I want you to think about that. 2 members of the royal guard fought Captain America to a draw.
That's the stuff you tell your grandkids about.
Mm-hmm. So just one demonstration how you don't mess with Wakanda. So, and Noel may soon figure that out too. So it was a pretty great story. I enjoyed it. I gave a 4 for story. Artwork, I'm going to say, was a very strong 3. I couldn't quite bring myself to give it a 4, but it was pretty good.
Well, we agreed on this one. 3 for the artwork. The storyline, just great depth in T'Challa, how he deals with his people that support him in the nation. I thought he had a lot of patience in a very trying situation.
Mm-hmm.
But finally, it was like, I'm the king. And let's face it, Wakanda is the most advanced nation in the Marvel world when it comes to technology. So, Noel might have bit off more than he could chew here.
Yeah.
So, I really liked it. I gave it the same 4 that you gave it. This book ended up with 3.5 shields. And our last Marvel comic and our last comic this week is Morbius, Bond of Blood, number 1, and it had a $3.99 cover price.
All right, so this story tells a little bit about Morbius's origin, and then it shows what he does on a regular basis, looking for what he would consider worthy victims for his thirst.
His sustenance. Let's face it, he's got to eat.
Right. So the story was okay. I mean, it was a little, you might call it a little basic. So I gave a 3 for story. Artwork, I think they were trying to emulate like old school Marvel artwork, like maybe like
What's wrong with that?
yeah. But I think they fell short of the goal a little bit, so I ended up giving a 2 for artwork.
Well, I don't think they were trying to emulate Marvel artwork, old school or new school. I just don't think it was that good.
Okay.
So I gave the artwork a 2 also. The story, I don't know. I enjoyed it. Now, the origin is different than the origin I remember from Amazing Spider-Man. But it was an interesting story, and you kind of got a little into Morbius's situation, how he has to live, and the things he will do to A, survive, and to B, take care of things he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty interesting, so I gave the story 4 shields. That one ended up getting 3 shields overall. And now we're going to do what we do every week and give you our top 3 for the week.
All right. So we start things off with number 3.
Ooh.
And that is Justice League Future State, which comes in with a 3.5, which, if you're wondering why it's in third place, it's because if you do the math and average it out, it's actually 3.375. So we just,
without rounding it up, it didn't hit 3.5.
right, which is why it's number 3, and number 2 is number 2, which is King in Black, Black Panther, which is a solid 3.5.
Don't mess with Wakanda.
Mm-mm. And then that brings us to our number 1 pick with a 4.0 score, which was Space Bastards. So
Number 2.
yep, it's second time on top. So good for it.
Think it'll keep the run?
If it
Think
keep-
issue
yep,
number 3 will stay on top?
same creative team, then I would say so. Unless something comes up and surprises us.
Like I said before, if you're not reading Space Bastards, you're missing a good book. It is adult oriented. There's language in it. And like I said, Comic Book World, hook you up with number 1.
All right, so here's our top picks for the week. If you have some picks that we didn't talk about this week, then let us know about it in the comments section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of cool stuff going on. We got our comic reviews every week. We have back issues with EMoney and the Old Man. We're doing the history of comic books right now. Copper Age is coming up next week. And tomorrow, we are doing our reaction to WandaVision.
We are?
Yeah.
Woo!
So it was a big reveal last week.
How are they going to do anything bigger?
No,
I've heard that there's something even bigger coming.
I mean,
How can you do bigger?
that should have been the season finale. Any other show?
I fell out of the chair. You
Yep.
saw me.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to be reading a couple of viewer comments and kind of discuss your fan theories and yeah.
That's new.
Yep. And see what you guys think. So don't forget to watch WandaVision and then come over to YouTube and watch us. And we'll we'll share our geeky goodness with WandaVision together. All right, so we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Excelsior.
True believers, a lot of good stuff going on right now in comic books and TVs and movies. Get on the bandwagon. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.